All right, welcome. The social media graphic. In class, I walked the class through how to basically open up the file and how to start designing, how to use Illustrator. So I'm going to walk you through all of that now. So whatever we did in class, you'll get to recap here. If you were in class and want kind of a refresher when you're at home, or if you missed class, you can just watch this and you'll see exactly what we did in class, and this will get you going. So the social media graphic, trying to make it easier for you. I gathered a bunch of assets together in one Illustrator file, and this is the Illustrator file, what it looks like right here. You can see I have two artboards in here, 1080 by 1080. That's the size you'll be designing for your social media graphic. I have a sample on here just to kind of show you what one might look like. I put the logos for Habitat down here, put the colors in the file, and the headline and the slogan I put up here as well, and just some photographs over here so you can work with those. I'll show you in a second how to get your own photographs and load those if you'd rather do that, which is probably a good idea. All right, so the first thing you have to do is I'm gonna hop over to Blackboard and kind of show you what this looks like in assignments in Blackboard under our class. Right here, this social graphic instructions, how and why they're used, examples and best practices. If you click on this, this will take you over to my website, and my website has all of the instructions on here. So read through this if you missed class or if you need to have a refresher. I have the grading checklist. This also has links to the stock photo websites, Unsplash, Pexels, and Pixabay. Those are three really good websites for stock photos. So what you want to do first is you want to go through kind of the creative examples that Habitat gives us and choose two messages. So if you want to do everyone deserves a decent place to live, or every door opens up new opportunities, just pick one of these sayings, kind of slogans on these examples and use that. Next, you want to go here to social media graphic, the Habitat template, click to download this. Click and that'll download to your downloads folder. And that's the Illustrator file with those sampled photographs. And then if you scroll down, this first file right here, click to download. This will allow you access to the special fonts that Habitat uses. We went over the brand user guide in class, but if you ever want to review that, you can click right here as well. But you don't need that. But we do need the fonts here, and we do need this file right here. So when you download those, they should go into your downloads folder. If you're at home and you have it set up, they might download to your desktop. But either way, you're going to see that we have two zip files here. To open a zip file, which is just a compressed file, so it downloads a little faster from my website, you just double click on them and it will give you a folder. So now I have a folder. If I open each of these folders, you'll see that they have contents in them. So now I can take these two zip files and just throw those in the trash. Okay, so first of all, the Habitat social graphic template and photos, you'll see in this folder, I have a .ai file. This is that main file that I just showed you on my website. And then I have 6 supporting photographs, which are just ideas of photographs you could use. You don't have to use these. And then in here, I have the Habitat typefaces that you'll need to use and install on your computer. And then we won't use this one right now, but I do have the separate Habitat logos. You can see that's what that looks like. But since I copied and pasted these into the file, you'll be just fine. All right, so what you want to do is first we want to go into this Habitat social graphic template and photos and just double click and open up the Illustrator file. This is the file that we're going to use for the entire 4 weeks for this project. You'll design directly in here. Okay, so as we open this up, you can see this is the file. It has prompted me with an error saying that this Newhouse grotesque is used in here, but we don't have it loaded on the machine. I'll show you how to load that in just a second. So let's close this and then skip this. It's saying that Illustrator can activate them, but we don't want to do that. We want to skip that. So when you look at the file, you see the type is outlined and kind of highlighted in pink here and right here. That means that that typeface isn't loaded. Okay, so I'm going to hide Illustrator, and we're going to go back to the first or the other folder that we downloaded where it was Habitat Restore logo and fonts. And in here, there's a folder with the fonts. I am going to grab the Newhouse here, and it said that I needed the display and the text. So if you want, you can just grab all of these, but you really only need these right here. Once you grab these, all you have to do, or once you select these, just double click them, and then the Mac automatically knows that you're trying to load fonts. So it's going to open the Mac program that organizes and handles all of your fonts or manages them, called Font Book. So I'll double click these, and it launches Font Book. And then it says you have two different texts or fonts that you want to install. I'll click Install Font. It goes through kind of an initialization and validating process. And after it does that one, then click on the second one. And now you can see that both of these typefaces are in here. All you have to do is quit. And to double check that they are installed, let's go back to Illustrator. And you will see that that pink outline goes away, and now our fonts are installed. To further double check, I'm going to double click on these and highlight this with my cursor. And you can see right here in the properties palette, Newhouse Grotesque Display Medium. That is the typeface that I want for the display for the larger one. And then the smaller one is the text. This is a personal preference, but I like to go under Window and bring up my control bar. And that just brings up all these controls along the top here. Some people prefer the property palette, and that's okay too. It's just a choice. Okay, so that's the first thing. We installed the typefaces, and now they're ready to be used. I'm going to Command S to save, so I save as I go along. Just a note that any typefaces that you find that aren't installed into your either your home iMac or your home Windows machine or on the iMacs here at the college, you'll have to keep them with your files or download them from my website every time and install them every time you log into a new computer. I know it's a little cumbersome, but that's just the way it works here, okay? All right, so in this folder, you'll see that I have these photographs here and I have the Illustrator file. So let's just say you chose a message and you wanted to have the message be like every parent, or show a picture of a happy family or something here. And maybe the photos that I have you don't like. So let's go over to your favorite browser. I'm going to go to Chrome, and I'm going to go to unsplash.com. Just a reminder that I have these in Blackboard as well as on the website under the grading checklist. So you can find those. Unsplash, and I am just going to search for happy family. So be careful, because all the photos across the top, you have to pay for those from iStock. That's kind of like a big ad. But if you scroll down, now you can see that these are happy family photos that are available to use. So we want to find something that we like in here. I like when people are looking directly at me as opposed to away from us. This family doesn't have as much diversity as I would like, while this family has more diversity. They're not really looking at us. So I'll keep looking and going through here, thinking about a family that Habitat might build a home for. So let's say we like this one here. If I want to use this photograph, I download it, click the download photo. And then you don't have to, if you don't want right now, give credit for this. That's optional. And then you'll see when I go to my desktop, it will download those photos into my downloads folder. And it's this one right here. So One thing that's very important is you always have to have your photographs in the same folder as your .ai or your main Illustrator file. So I'm going to grab this and drag it into here, because when I go and place this photo into this file, it has to remain in the same folder, otherwise it will lose its link to it. So I have my photo ready to go. I'm going to go back to Illustrator, and in here, to place that photo in here like I have these others, I'm going to go to File, Place, then I'm going to go to Downloads and find that photo. You can see it's in this folder and then in this folder. I'll select that and click Place. Now, if I click just once, it's going to give me that photo in a really, really big size. So another way to do it, it's a little bit faster, would be to grab this photo and then click and drag so it just covers the size of your social graphic here. All right, so now the photo is in here, kind of how I want to use it. If I'd like to enlarge this, I can grab the corners. You can see that my selection tool changes to like a double arrow there, and I can hold my shift key down and I can enlarge this a little bit. Don't do this where you don't hold your shift key and you skew your photo. That's not a look you want. Don't do something like this either. All right, so always hold your shift key when you enlarge or reduce. And you should really just reduce it so you don't lose any of your resolution. Okay, now some designers, they don't mind all this stuff hanging off the edge like this, because I have to stay within this 1080 by 1080 pixel artboard right here. I don't like to design with all this ugly stuff looking off the edge like this. It's kind of messy. So what you can do is either over here, when you select your photo, either here, click mask, or up here in your control, click mask. And then what it allows you to do is grab the corners and you can mask that photo by pulling these in right to the edge. And you'll see that you can just mask this and all that extra stuff has gone away. Now, if you would like to adjust this even more, notice now if I click on this and I move the corner, well, that masking has gone away. So to reactivate that masking, I just have to double click on my photograph. Notice it will kind of go into this focus on the layer here. Everything else turns gray. And now if I hover over the path, like the box outside of it, and click, now I have reactivated that and I can crop that if I'd like to. I can also click on the photograph, the big X box in the background, either here or here, and I can move the photograph around too. I can move it around inside of here. So, and then to get out of this or release, go back into, just do double click into the, or double click the background, sorry. Okay, so now we've added photographs to this. We've loaded our typefaces. Now all we really have to do is build the rest of this design. So looking at what I did over here, a couple ways you could do this. You could just grab my blue box here, hold your Option key down. If I click on this, hold the Option key down, you see how the selection tool turns into a little double arrow? Click and drag, and you'll make a copy of that. Or you can take your rectangle tool up here and draw your own. I'll draw my own over top of this. Okay, so I have this. To fill it in the, you can use either the fill or the stroke over here in your properties, or I kind of prefer this up here in the control. I have already installed for you, just to make your life a little bit easier, the 5 colors that Habitat uses from their brand guidelines. So you can just click on these and change that Habitat color. So let's just use the blue here. The white triangle in the bottom denotes that it's a Pantone color. But just use these and you can see I've labeled them Habitat blue, green, orange, yellow, and red. Oh, I guess this one I didn't label properly, but it's still the red. Okay, and then if I want to reduce the opacity, see how this kind of shows through, the photo shows through? This would be the transparency. Opacity, I click up here and I reduce this, and I just did like 85%. And now you can see that you can see the photo through it, which is what they kind of like in their style guide. Okay, let me zoom in here a little bit more, align this edge just a little bit more. Okay, so now the logos along the bottom, I can pick which one I want to use. I think that this one probably looks best, so I'm just going to click and drag that up here. Now you'll see that that's behind the blue because I put the photo on here and then the blue, and everything happens in layers. The things that you created most currently are on the top layer. So just to pull the logo to the front, I select the logo, go to Object, Arrange, and then Bring to Front. And then that logo will be in front of the blue. If I want to reduce it, I make sure I hold my Shift key down and just reduce it a little bit by grabbing that corner. And if you remember from the Habitat style guide, when they used blue boxes like this with transparency, they usually used white for type, and I don't see Habitat over some of these. Here's an example here where Habitat over the blue, the logo is white. So let's make our logo white too. We'll simply select the logo, go up here to our fill, and select white instead. All right. So now that's really left is to grab our headline and our slogan. And I'm going to select this, hold my Option key down and copy it. We'll move that over. That's behind everything. So I want to go back up to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And now in order to select my type, I'm going to double click, and that kind of gives me a cursor in here. And now I can select all this type with my cursor, make that white as well. And then if I want to reduce the size of this, I can simply highlight this and go up here and see that this is 182 points. Maybe let's start with like 72, and then I can go up from there if I want. And you want to type your headline in there too. So maybe I want every, oops, no capitals. They like it this way. And I'm going to do a return and then family. And then the slogan down below, I'm going to reduce the type on that because that's a little bit smaller. So I have every family. Now, what you can do is, if we look back at the Habitat, if you look in here, you'll see that they close up the leading between the words here. This is the space between the lines. And see how the descender of the Y and the ascender of the H, they touch. And they have a couple others are like that too. They're really close. So I'm going to mimic that. The way I do that is I select this bottom line. And then over here next to the size of the type, I have the leading controls. So I'm just going to reduce that, and you'll see that word family come up and let it touch the Y just a little bit. There. And then here we'll put every family, how about deserves a nice place to live. They put periods in there in their style guide. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to reduce the size of this. And I'll reduce the leading just a touch. What I'm trying to do here is just with my kind of designer's eye, match what the style looks like in here. So it looks like my top headline should be a little bit larger. So I'm going to adjust these two, grab them both, make those bigger. Then I'll have to pull the leading apart. I'm just going to grab family and add leading above that. And then this line here is probably a little bit close too. I'm going to add some leading there as well. Pull that away. And there, that's looking better. Now I can clean this up a little bit if I want by closing up my frame. And now I have something that's starting to look like a Habitat design because I followed their manual and I followed their instructions and kind of guidelines. All right, so that's really it. You have enough now to be able to design both of these. You're going to design two separate ones. So pick a couple of messages and then kind of create your own designs. Make these look different and follow the guidelines in the style manual. Well, that's it. And if you have any other questions, just see me in class and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much. Good work.